May the words of my mouth and the meditation of all our hearts be acceptable to you, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Let me first start this first Sunday in Lent by thanking all those who joined in St. John's first ever broadcast of a High Holy Service on Ash Wednesday. If we have to meet and worship in this way, we do at least for a while yet. I thought it went quite well. Once again, many thanks for participating. One of the courses I took at Vancouver School of Theology was called Christology, which, as you might suspect, was about the study of Jesus Christ. And in that course, we paid particular attention to the study of the theology of the cross. I have to tell you that it was a challenging subject in many respects. It is not just that there are numerous theories about what the cross means for Christians, and I can certainly attest to the fact that there are indeed varied and abundant. It is that many of these theories have nuances and shades of meaning that at some points overlap and at some points contradict each other. It can be very complex. It is particularly multifaceted in significance when we consider what the cross means to each one of us throughout the days of our reflection in Lent and the emotional movement of Holy Week. What the cross signifies for us during Lent and even in Holy Week can be very different from what it means for us on Easter Sunday. But as Christians, I think it is fundamentally important to try and grapple with these questions and contemplate what the cross means for us as we move through our Lenten journey. A part of the promises we make to God on Ash Wednesday for this reflective period of Lent is to read Scripture as if anew. That is to say, look at the Lenten journey from Christ, from his itinerant ministry to his triumphant entry into Jerusalem and to his death on the cross in a fresh new way. Therefore, in this first Sunday of Lent, I would like to focus on Christ and the cross and how we might reflect on the importance of this event in the days of Lent to come before us and as before we celebrate the resurrection and the renewal on Easter. To look at the Christian story anew, I like to think of it as a child, or even an adult for that matter, hearing the story for the very first time. I imagine the shock of hearing that Jesus was crucified. Not knowing that this was not the end of the story, I would imagine them thinking, why would that happen? Why would such a man be killed at all, let alone in such a brutal fashion? He was healing people and talking of justice and love. Why is it over so quickly and in this way? Indeed, in the gospel we hear, so they put a sponge full of the wine on a branch of hyssop and held it to his mouth. When Jesus had received the wine, he said, "It is finished." Then he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" The inescapable truth here is that Jesus believes it is finished, and that God has withdrawn from his side. He has been humiliated, beaten, tortured, spat upon, mocked, and left to die by one of the most hideous means of execution imaginable. And then Jesus enters death seemingly all alone. Jesus' own community had turned against him, yelling to Pilate, "Crucify him, crucify him." Jesus' own disciples had fled in confusion and fear for their lives, and Peter denied him 3 times even before the sun rose, even though he swore that he would not do that. It isn't any wonder that some of the foot of the cross have speculated aloud how Jesus could have ever called himself king. "If you are king, why don't you save yourself?" they cried, their sarcastic tone lost on no one. And then Jesus does not feel the presence of God at his side. Abba, the Father, seemingly leaves Jesus to die alone. without knowing about Easter, you might well say, with a tear in your eye, why? In his memoirs, Elie Wiesel tells a story in Auschwitz of where a boy was publicly hanged for stealing a small morsel bit of food. The Jewish prisoners at Auschwitz were lined up and forced to watch the hanging of this boy, and apparently it took him some time to die. While watching the boy twist in agony on the rope, Elie Wiesel heard the voice from the back of the lineup that he was standing in. It was one of the prisoners repeating over and over again, "Where is God? Where is God? Where is God?" The inhumanity of some of God's children towards other children of God horrifies me. The suffering and trauma we have inflicted upon each other over the centuries staggers the mind in its sheer breadth and in its continuation. I imagine how many times over these centuries and in how many different voices and languages must have been spoken the words by someone witnessing or enduring torment, "Where is God? Where is God? Where is God?" Among many other things, I believe Jesus carried all our griefs, all our sorrows, all our wounds, and all our guilt to the cross. In that moment of real darkness we all have from time to time, we feel like we are standing alone, but we are not. God is with us. In that moment when we feel certain that life is defeating us and that we ourselves ask, "Where is God? Where is God?" we can remember that although we feel alone, God ever stands with us and surrounds us. In his moment of darkness and pain, Jesus felt abandoned as well. But he knew there was a greater purpose at work. He knew God was at work in, with, and through the cross. One of the theologians I read in the Christology course I mentioned suggested that God lives in the crevices of life. In this image, God comes through the cracks of injustice and violence and oppression to empower the weak, the wounded, and the marginalized. It is the image of a God who overthrows evil by inspiring the hearts and minds of those who are seemingly crushed by evil's tyranny. It is an image of God that runs counter to the perception that God enters the scene in a big and spectacular way and swings his mighty sword alone and acts alone to bring justice. Rather, this image of God in the crevices of life and walking through the civil rights protesters in Selma, Alabama, is real. God is in the crevices of life and entered the hands that gripped the sledgehammers that brought down the Berlin Wall. God is in the crevices of life today and is in the hand and the heart of every frontline worker during this pandemic. God is in the crevices of life today and abides with you closely as you begin your Lenten journey in whatever darkness or pain or doubt or grief you may be suffering. It is one of the great mysteries of our faith that in order to conquer death, Jesus had to die. I don't know why exactly that is the case. It is beyond my comprehension. But in order to get to that day of enormous new hope and amazing grace, a few short weeks around the corner, Jesus had to suffer for us. Perhaps the cross was and is meant to be the crack, the crevice of life that lets God's light through. Perhaps it is much more than that. What I am sure of is that on our Lenten journey, we can and should take the time to contemplate such matters and in our own way come to a better understanding of the cross. We can also pray to Jesus with a blessed assurance that we can walk together out of darkness, whatever our darkness is, and never be alone. The light of God, even if through a crevice, will be with you on your Lenten journey forever and always. Amen.